Selling in the billions each year, Rainbow Mealworms is your one-stop shop for all your insect needs. Their quality feeders and A-plus customer service keep me coming back to support the health and growth of all of our animals. Visit them today at rainbowmealworms.net to place your order.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Breeder Feature Friday. This is our very first special episode with our good friend over here, Branden from Bam Bam's Geckos, of our new Breeder on the Block series. I thought it would be a fun segment to, feature some newer breeders in certain episodes, as well as, older, more experienced breeders, and who constitutes what new is. But you know what I mean? We can just have fun and have a good time with it. But kind of speaking about that real quick. Before I get into anything else, I told Branden, he said he was cool with this. I'm just going to give a quick shout out to our shipping company that we just switched to and are using right now, and just want to give them a quick shout out. So we'll be back.
I want to take this time to shout out Redline Shipping. They are the #1 fastest growing reptile and animal shipping company in the world right now, and that is for good reason. Use promo code GECKO5 today at checkout for an additional $5 off your shipping.
All right, guys, we are back. Let's give a little round of applause there. Welcoming Branden into our official first episode. Really good to have you guys. If you have any questions during this episode, please feel free to put them in the chat and we will address them. Other than that, Branden and I are going to have a conversation about who he is, a little bit about his passion for reptiles, what his goals are for his hobby / possible business here. We'll talk about different shows. Branden and I kind of live somewhat close, so we'll talk about different shows that we both might be traveling to and where we might see each other, shows he might be vending, and we will just have a good time talking reptiles for a couple hours or so. So, Branden, how are you doing today? You want to do a little introduction of yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing really good. For those that don't know me, I'm Branden. I run Bam Bam's Geckos. I've been breeding for about almost a year now, so this works out perfect because new breeder on the block.
Okay. I kind of gave a general guideline the other day of like anyone who's like 5 years or under is a new breeder, and I could even fall into that category because I've technically only been breeding on an actual serious note of like wanting to breed and actually put it into play and in a huge way. I have to say I've probably only been breeding since like 2018. So that's like 4 or 5 years. So I'm still, I could even put myself on a new breeder on the block. But you know who Utah Bro is? Oh, Norman Davis, yeah. Utah Bro Army.
Yeah, that's the team I play for. That's my dad.
Oh, okay. Awesome. So let's talk about that real quick. Let's talk about Branden. So tell us a little bit about you. Where are you from? What are some of your passions besides reptiles? And then we'll talk a little bit more about how you got into reptiles. But just give a little bio of who you are and things you're into.
So I live in Utah. I was born over in Delaware, so I'm an East Coast boy also. I like to play. I play paintball for a competitive sport. I like to play guitars and stuff like that.
And your dad's on your paintball team? Is that?
My dad coaches the team.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I sometimes watch paintball videos like on YouTube and stuff like that, and it's really interesting to watch. I've only played for fun when I was younger, but it's pretty cool, Anyway, go on. I like paintball.
It's a really fun sport. I enjoy it. Also, I did play for Team USA in 2019.
What?
Yeah, so
represent. Wait, hold on. We're gonna give let's give a little round of applause for that. That's awesome. We got a Team USA paintball member here. That's cool. Tell us a little of that experience. What was that like?
That was a very, very cool experience. We went over to Amsterdam. That's where we played.
Wow.
But while we were there, we traveled to Germany, and we went to England and Belgium and all those other countries. It is definitely, I wouldn't say like a huge culture shock, but it was like definitely a really cool experience of seeing different cultures.
Wow. Yeah, Amsterdam. That's I'm trying to make friends in Amsterdam because that's the number one place to ship reptiles in and out of Europe, basically. So, like,
Gotcha.
if we want to get reptiles to Europe, it goes to Amsterdam first, and then the company in Amsterdam, they actually don't broker any other connections between them and like Ireland or like any of the other surrounding countries. So you have to do your own due diligence and research to find out who are these courier companies. Like, you know, we have UPS and FedEx that, you know, ground delivers packages and stuff. So like you have to find out who those companies are. And I I wish they helped with that. Like it seems like that they would get more sales if they did broker that transaction. Because like how am I going to know what to look for or what company to go through? But anyway, if someone could pick up a reptile in Amsterdam, we could easily get it to Amsterdam. The problem that makes it more difficult is getting it from Amsterdam to other places in Europe or
Yeah.
Asia or wherever, you know.
Yep.
So really cool. So paintball, that's another big hobby of yours. What have you always been into, like reptiles or critters, or where did you recognize first your passion for, you know, did you go like herping when you were younger and flipping rocks and stuff, you know?
So, funny story. When I was 7, I wanted a parakeet over. I didn't know. I was at the time. I was really scared of reptiles and everything. But I used to. Used to love birds and stuff. So, I wanted a parakeet. Well, we went to PetSmart this one day with my mom and my little brother, and I held the parakeet and it bit me, and I didn't. I wasn't a fan of that. And the girl that worked there was like, "Oh, why don't you try a leopard gecko?" So we went over to the leopard gecko, and I was hooked with it. It was. I still have her. She's 16 years old now.
Wow. Yeah, I'm considering whether I want to get rid of my like 12. I have no idea how old this girl is. I probably got her at 6 years old, and now I've had her for probably about 6 years or so. So I, if I'm guessing, she's 12 or older. But to me, I'm like, it's almost like you have a piece of history now. You know, like because
Yeah.
you don't normally see geckos that old. You know, unless you've been in the hobby for a very long time, and you and I are kind of younger, so we're not usually buying like, oh yeah, give me that 15-year-old female. I want her for my breeding project, because obviously you're not breeding a 15-year-old girl. But it's kind of cool. Like it's you have a piece of history, and like I have this old girl in my collection, and I'm like, do I want to just keep her and just like let her ride out her days here? She's so calm, so nice. Like she would be great for like educational programs, parties, school events. Stuff like that. So your dad mentioned DHL shipping possibly, and I have heard of DHL shipping in the reptile hobby in the Europe area. So that would be a good company to look into for ground shipping. And then Denise Ray also mentioned that she used DHL back in the day. But what were you going to say?
Yeah, it's just like a piece of history, you know, something to just look back on what started this addiction.
So she put the leopard gecko in your hand. Prior to that, were you a herper? Like when I was younger, I was at the creek, like flipping over rocks, looking for like garter snakes or salamanders. Was your mind already reptile geared, or you were just kind of like pet geared? Like you knew you liked animals, but you didn't really like one specific category the most.
Yeah, I was just pet geared. So like I was still iffy about like reptiles when we decided to get that leopard gecko, the leopard gecko.
Yeah.
But it eventually just started growing on me more and more.
Are you able to grab your old leopard gecko and bring her on stream? Somebody was asking. If not, it's no problem.
I can't. She's kind of hard to get because
Okay.
I have her in like a 20-gallon. But I'll do some post on Instagram and stuff. So.
Oh yeah. So let me show that real quick. Here is Bam Bam's Instagram. So it is Bam Bam's Geckos. I apologize if my voice is echoing right now. Sometimes that happens. but you can check them out. Bam Bam's Geckos, 717 followers. Way to go, man! Really, really gaining popularity there. You got to meet Brian Cusco, Dave the Kaufman. Yeah, he's super cool. Okay, let me hide that. So maybe you and I could both answer this question the way we view it. Do breeders sell their retired adults? So as you get deeper into breeding, what would be your goal with your older adults that are no longer able to breed? And do you have plans right now for like how long you want to try to breed a female, or are you just going to try to breed her until she's no longer producing, kind of thing? Like, what's your perspective on that?
Yeah, so usually what I do with the retired adults is I'll just sell them as pet only and have them go to a good home. Or I thought about even doing something like educational for schools or something. But with all my females, I usually breed them till about 3 to 4 years old, and then sometimes 5, just depending. But that's how far I push it with them. The males, I tend to just keep as long as I can, as long as they're still producing. So,
yeah, I heard Ron Tremper had a male breed for him at 25 years old. So it's not that big for of a deal for a male. And
yeah.
Denise would actually probably know because she's been in the hobby 20 plus years. So Denise, if you have some commentary on when you retire your females, or what's the oldest you've seen a female producing fertile eggs? In Ron Tremper's book, he gives like this chart where it shows like the most fertile years of a girl is like between years 2 through 8, and then the fertility starts to decline. So like my old girl, I tried to breed her the last 2 years, and 2 years ago, mind you, I don't know how old she is, but if I had to guess, 2 years ago she was probably 10 years old or older, and I think she laid for me like 4 good babies, and then maybe like a couple dud eggs. So she didn't even lay as many eggs as a normal female would. And then last year I bred her, and I can't remember. She didn't. I know for a fact she didn't hatch any good eggs because I officially retired her this year at the age of 12 plus or whatever she is. But she got to a point where if she laid, most of the time she was reabsorbing her ovulations, but if she laid an egg, it was always infertile. And so once she got to that point, I was like, okay, well, no point in really putting her through it anymore. I guess I could try again in the subsequent years, to see if she pops out a fertile 1 or 2. But, like if she was like a really, really good breeder, like a Black Knight or something, then I might do that. But she was just an average gecko. So like you said, I just retired her, and now I actually have her up for sale if somebody wants her. Show her Franklin. Show her Franklin. Do you know what they're talking about?
I do not.
Okay, sorry, I'm not sure what you're talking about. If you're talking to me about showing, they want maybe me to show that girl. But yeah, she's all the way in the other room, and yeah, I don't want to waste the time to go over there since we got our guest over here. But so let's see. But if you catch me on our Monday night lives, I can usually grab geckos and stuff on those lives. So I apologize that I can't grab it right now.
I'm usually on those lives too.
Yeah, Bam Bam usually is, which is really awesome. 12 years was the oldest girl that Denise had one produce. So that's really interesting because leopard geckos could live 25, 30 years. And it's interesting that the girls would kind of no longer be good breeders after like half their life, after only 12 years. Yep. But it is what it is. It's a lot more taxing for a girl to reproduce than for a guy to reproduce. But anyway, where were we? Where did we leave off before the question on age? Oh, we were talking about you were more of a pet-minded person, and then they put a leopard gecko in your hand. Now, how old are you now, Branden?
So I'm 22. I'll be 23 in April.
Wow.
Which will lead to going down to the Arizona show for my birthday. So.
Okay, yeah. We will definitely have the show conversation. That's really cool that you've already experienced a lot of things in life at the age of 22, playing for the national American national paintball team then?
Yeah, it was United States of America.
And how did you guys do, by the way?
We took second We lost to Norway
Wow.
in overtime, so it was a
That's
very close
really good.
game.
Because I know those European countries, they take their paintball and their airsoft like super serious. So the fact that America was able to compete against that just shows that I guess we have a good team, huh?
It was great. My brother also played with me on that team, so kind of made a little bit of history there too.
That's awesome. I don't know if I've seen pictures of your brother or anything. Is he into the pets or the reptiles or anything like that?
Um, he's more into fish right now. I've tried to pull
Okay,
him into the
cool.
reptile hobby, but
Dude, the
he's not.
fish hobby is intense.
Yeah, he loves fish. Right now he has a beta fish right now, so.
Yeah, even the beta hobby is intense.
Oh
So many
yeah.
different colors, anything you can collect, right? Pokemon cards, and then now as you get older, and you have your own money. You could like buy the pets you want, especially if you have your own house and stuff. When I was younger, I had to like beg my mom and like get good grades to like have pets and whatnot. Denise said, just like humans, yeah, I guess a female human's fertility starts declining around half
Yep.
her normal age, so that makes sense. Um, but yeah, a lot of I'm trying to think how other reptiles respond. Because I think like certain reptiles, like crested geckos, boas, even ball pythons, there's a lot of reptiles that benefit from being older because they have maybe not necessarily longer lifespans than leopard geckos, but yeah, I guess a ball python does have a longer lifespan on average than a leopard gecko. But like their most fertile years, I haven't talked to a ball python breeder about like how old is the oldest girl that's ever produced for him, but it's not really a thought on their mind necessarily, from what I can tell, as far as like retiring girls um, too early, because girls are breeding well up into the 15, 20 plus year range for crested geckos and ball pythons. It's just for leopard geckos, for some reason, as a reptile, usually reptile females can breed late into life, but for some reason, leopard gecko reptiles don't. And so like not every reptile is going to be the same, but it's just interesting that leopard geckos don't. Um, but does frequency of breeding affect how many years they can breed? I honestly don't know the answer to that question. Like if you did it every other year kind of thing, would the girl be able to breed longer? Do you have any thoughts on that? I mean, I haven't really heard much information of people talking about that.
Yeah, I haven't heard much information about it, but I think maybe it is possible. Maybe just doing it every other year. Maybe it doesn't put as much wear on the body.
Right.
Um, that's the only thing I can think of.
And I know some breeders do that. I just don't know if it actually prolongs their
Yeah.
reproductive life. But that would be an interesting study, right? Take a pool of girls, and 10 girls or whatever. 5 of them breed every single year. The other 5 breed every other year, and see what the overall like accumulative average is of how long each group produces for. So that'd be interesting, but. Okay, so
Yeah, I think
let's
that'd be a
talk.
good
Listen,
study.
wait. Before we talk morphs, I'm going to leave this question up here so we don't forget. Before we talk morphs, you're 22. When did you get your first leopard gecko? When was that experience, that pet store experience that you're talking about?
So I was 7 years old.
Oh gosh, that was a long time ago.
That was a
Okay,
very long
so
time ago.
since then, how many other reptiles did you get since that one? Before
Oh.
you got into breeding, before you got deeper into breeding,
Oh, before I got into breeding.
like
Okay.
throughout your teenage years and stuff, did you kind of like loosely accumulate certain animals? Like, did you get a ball python? Did you get a Burmese python? Did you get like an Ackie monitor? You know what I mean? Like, did you mix and match different reptiles?
Yeah, pretty much. So I got a couple of reptiles that slowly started building up in my room. So, yeah, I got a corn snake. I have a chameleon, but I gave the chameleon to my mom, so she wanted something.
Chameleons, that's
Uh,
another one that has a shorter lifespan, right? If I'm
yeah,
remembering correctly.
it's like
Um,
5 years or something like that.
yeah, that's nuts. I couldn't imagine just keeping an animal for 5 years. Thankfully, I have not experienced much death due to age in my collection. You know what I mean? Because anytime you open up a rack or a tank and you find your animal dead, it's not fun. But if you're keeping 100 leopard geckos past the age of 15 to 20, I'm not at this point yet, but if you have like 100 leopard geckos past the age of 15 to 20, at some point they're just going to start dying off and like naturally, you know, and that's got to be like pretty sad to just be like opening tubs and you know, finding your pets that you've had for so long, you know, kind of deceased. But so my point in saying that was I really haven't experienced that yet. Obviously, I've experienced death. Every breeder does, but not like pets that have been with me like 15, 20 years and then opening up the tub and then they're just gone. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. So I got a couple of reptiles. I got a bearded dragon also. Everybody's got to have a bearded dragon, you know.
So you never went back to the birds. You just stuck with the reptiles.
Yeah, it just stuck with me, and it just rolled just like a snowball effect.
So you said when she put the leopard gecko in your hand, and this is a good selling point, and this is going to be good for you to kind of practice your speech on as you do shows and stuff like that. When people are walking up to your table as a show, they don't know about a lot of reptiles. In their mind, a leopard gecko could be just as controversial or difficult to care for as a bearded dragon or an Argus monitor. So like you have to have these points in your head of why is this a good pet and why should this person be paying attention to you to possibly buy this as a pet. So going back to when the lady first put the gecko in your hand, what amazed you about the leopard gecko? And then just remember that because you could use those as selling points for when you do shows to market and explain to people as well. But what was it about the leopard gecko that really drew you in?
It just seemed like a very cute and docile little creature. So when they put it in my hand, I was like, that's it? It's not going to bite me or anything? It's harmless. So
yeah, a lot of people think, you know, reptiles, especially the more shows you do, you'll see that a lot of people think that reptiles are slimy or, you know what I mean, like not fun to touch or anything like that. But if you can break down those barriers with people and just encourage people like, hey, go ahead, look, I'm holding it. You don't have to hold it. Give it a little pet. Even ask them questions that will stimulate them to actually want to engage with you. So be like, what does it feel like? Is it rough or is it soft? And then now you got the kid thinking and interested. You know what I mean? And that's been a technique that has worked for me a lot with breaking down those barriers with people. Sometimes the kids will come up to your table and they'll be like hiding behind their parents because they don't know that a leopard gecko is really harmless. So you kind of show them. And one of the things I always show them too is, I don't know if the gecko did this for you in the store, but you know how you touch them on the tip of the mouth and they give you like a little kiss, like a lick kiss, I call it. So that's like a huge selling point for leopard geckos because crested geckos will do that, but it's mostly leopard geckos that do that more commonly, almost on command. Like every 10 to 15 seconds, you could touch them on the tip of the nose and they'll do that. And there's just something about a crested gecko that freaks me out, putting my finger close to it because it never blinks its eyes. It's just always looking at you. So you have no idea whether it's mad, upset, happy. It's just staring at you, open-eyed. You know what I mean? Yeah, leopard geckos.
Right into your soul.
It stares right into your soul. But that's another selling point I use too is leopard geckos have the ability to open and close their eyes. So it's a little bit cuter, a little bit more personable than a gargoyle or crested gecko that doesn't have that ability and is a little bit more scary, I think, in my opinion, for like a newer person that like just looking at the animal and trying to gauge, is this animal going to bite me? Is this animal upset with me? With a leopard gecko, if a leopard gecko is upset with you, its body language is very clear. Like it's waving its tail, it's puffing its back, it's closing its eyes. But crested geckos and gargoyle geckos, they just kind of jump around and you don't know if there's a happy jump or you don't know if that's a I'm going to bite you jump. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
that's what I love about leopard geckos is just their personalities. They all have their own personality.
That is true.
It's easier for them to express with them having the eyelids because you can tell like what's going on, you know, compared to a crested gargoyle, like you said, with their eyes, you don't know what's going on in that little brain that they have.
So, quiz for you, my new breeder on the block, episode 1 guest. Do you know the scientific name of leopard gecko, and do you know what it means?
Ooh, I forgot the scientific name, but I know it has something to do with their eyelids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're in the family Eublepharis, or like the genus before that, I think is called like Eublepharidae or something like that. Anyway, their scientific name is Eublepharis macularis, and then you start getting into the subspecies. There's Macularis macularis, Macularis afghanicus, there's Turkmenicus, there's Macularis fasciolatus, and then a few other subspecies and separate species. But yeah, you are correct. It means eyelid gecko, and they're in the family of geckos that have the ability to close their eyes, because obviously not every gecko does. In Arizona and maybe Utah, where you're from, we have like their distant cousin, the Coleonyx gecko, which is also in the family of eyelid geckos. And they're a little bit smaller, and they have like smoother skin versus the leopard gecko has a little bit like bumpy or rougher skin. But both interesting species.
Yeah, I think we have some of those. I want to say more. I want to say like southern Utah, maybe.
Yeah, because they do thrive a little bit more in the warmer climates.
Yeah.
All right, so you were obsessed with the personality of this gecko. You never got any other leopard geckos until you started deciding that you wanted to actually make this a business or grow it more as a hobby. Did you have any other geckos before that, or leopard geckos? I mean, before that.
We had another leopard gecko. I think he's about 2 or 3 years old. That was when me and my girlfriend met at the time.
Okay.
She wasn't into reptiles. It was kind of like before, or it was a little after we started dating and stuff. But she eventually got a leopard gecko too. And then from there, I kind of stumbled across leopard geckos of like breeding wise and stuff. And I was like, oh, maybe I kind of want to try this. I think it'd be kind of cool to create different morphs and stuff like that.
Yeah, when did you actually start? So how long ago did you stumble across the different morphs and the videos online?
I want to say it was about 2 years ago. So I kind of had started the breeding process of like setting everything up, but I didn't like actually start breeding.
Now, before you started breeding, did you kind of geek out on all the morphs and stuff? Or, like you said, were you already breeding and then you figured out, like, oh, there's so much genetically that's happening with these animals mutation-wise, you know?
I basically kind of had, like, a basic understanding of, like, some of the basic morphs and stuff. And then like, about a year and a half, it's about a year and a half, I stumbled across your channel, and that's when it kind of like everything just went off the deep end. And I started, I gotta buy more geckos and all that stuff. So
when I got into it in like 2018, the most relevant content, because YouTube is all based on relevancy. And so let this be an encouragement to all the do you have a YouTube channel now?
I do. I have one.
Okay, so we'll shout out your YouTube channel. What is it, Bam Bam's Geckos, or?
Yeah, I think it's just Bam Bam's Geckos.
Bam Bam's Geckos. So we'll check you out on YouTube. So YouTube bases their videos on relevancy as well as popularity. So relevancy means how relevant is this video to this time period. So YouTube's not really going to promote videos to you that are from 20 years ago because it's not relevant to this time period, unless that video from 20 years ago is still relevant, meaning that it's getting a lot of views and a lot of watches by people of today's standards. So in 2018, when I started getting more into researching the leopard geckos and the morphs and all that stuff, it might have even been 2016. I can't remember, honestly, when there was a point where I started going gung-ho into it. The person that I was watching was Matt Baronic from Saddleback Reptiles on YouTube, and all of his content was, at that time, all of his content was 6 to 8 years old. Now it's like 10 to 12 years old. But it was still relevant because nobody else was creating leopard gecko content. So I developed a huge passion for the geckos, but then I also developed a huge passion for content creation, which can also be fun, you know, shooting your animals, editing the videos and all of that. So I really started dumping a lot of time into that. And then now our videos have sort of become like the relevancy in YouTube's mind because our videos are newer and they get viewed a lot. And so a lot of people come to me and they're like, oh, I was searching for a leopard gecko thing and I saw your video kind of thing, you know? So that could be an encouragement to anyone who wants to start a leopard gecko YouTube channel. I haven't been doing it very long, 4 or 5 years, but if you're consistent with your content and just have fun with it, YouTube will recognize that you are a newer creator to this category of leopard geckos, and they're going to try to promote you to other people who are watching leopard gecko content. And little by little, you could start building that momentum for growing your audience and your channel and just having fun. It's almost like a baby, having fun watching that grow. Like you're taking care of this little YouTube baby, yeah, and growing it kind of thing, you know? So I didn't know you have a YouTube channel. Do you have videos out there yet on geckos or?
I think I have 3 videos. The first video is me going to the Vegas Super Show.
Oh, okay.
And then I did a beta gecko unboxing, and I also have the Wasatch Reptile Expo video also.
Okay, cool. I got to see Beta Gecko at the Pomona show, but I didn't get to introduce myself to her or her family. But what happened was we started talking kind of after the show a little bit, so she might be somebody that we bring on to interview. And then she also said she's planning on going to many other future shows, so I'm sure I'll see her at other shows. But it's really cool to run into other content creators and leopard gecko people at shows. But my wife lost her phone in the bathroom, and Beta Gecko's mother-in-law found the phone. So at the very end of the show, I didn't get to talk to like Beta Gecko all show. It's really busy when you do a show. But at the very end of the show, we're calling my wife's phone, and Beta Gecko's mother-in-law picks up and is like, yeah, I'm at the front of the show, blah, blah, blah. So we go to the front of the show, and I'm like, oh, you're with, because she had the shirt on and the branding, and it was just her daughter, her daughter-in-law wasn't there, Beta Gecko wasn't there, but it was just her. And I was like, oh, you were with Beta Gecko? I was like, yeah, I follow her on Instagram, and I wanted to meet her during the show, but I didn't get the chance because it was really busy. And so she got to kind of talk to me a little bit about, you know, Beta Gecko's passion and how they're going to be doing more shows and stuff like that. So I look forward to getting to meet them. But there's, I think there's a resurgence of leopard gecko attraction over these last 5 years, because from like 2010, when like Matt Baranek got out of it, there was like a big kind of like stagnancy for the leopard gecko hobby. And I think one of the reasons for that was there was not a lot of content creation showing that leopard geckos are still relevant in the hobby. So it was just like people that were already in it that just stayed focused on leopard geckos. But right now what I'm seeing is a whole bunch of new people getting into it, and then also new content creators like yourself, you know, starting to really enjoy the content promotion of leopard geckos. And so I think leopard geckos can only go up from here. I think they're a species and of reptile that still has so many new projects we can work and existing projects that we can make better. And if we just promote that and show that to people, like the new people that are coming into the reptile scene, they'll buy geckos instead of buying like corn snakes or whatever it might be. And they might mix and match. But I mean, at the end of the day, you have to market your species and why your species is amazing. And if you're not doing that, then less people are going to get into it, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
So talking about the passion, and you can say whatever you're going to say, but after that, let's talk a little bit about like the morphs of leopard geckos, and we'll answer this question, what your favorite morph is, and then we'll hit some other questions in the chat.
Ooh, I totally spaced what I was going to say.
Okay, so I'm sorry. I should have let you finish your thought. So okay, let's just get out with it. What's your favorite morph?
Ooh, I'm really hooked on the Tango Crush right now.
Okay, I know you're big into Gecko Daddy. Gecko Daddy's in Utah, is he? Or
Yeah, he's in Utah, and then we have JB Leopard Geckos as well, and he works with the clown line from Sassobek.
okay,
So,
Gecko Daddy. That's cool that you're in Gecko Daddy's homeland right there. So Tango Crush. What is it about the Tango Crush that's got you drooling or got you all, you know, excited?
what I love about the Tango Crush is it's just like this very beautiful, bright orange and tangerine color. Also like how it has all the different lines in the Tango Crush, so that's what kind of
Yeah.
attracted me to it.
Yeah, a big mix of all the different tangerine stuff, which diversifies genetics a little bit. Um, I think to some degree, a lot of tangerine stuff is related, because it came from way back whenever the original tangerine stuff started coming out. But in general, there are pretty big differences between like the original Infernal line, the original Mandarin line, the original like electric line, or whatever the line was. There's certain like sub lines that came out of those lines, but the initial lines, there's like big differences between what the traits actually look like. And so to mix and match those traits and to diversify genetics, I think is only beneficial. And Gecko Daddy's created he's carved a nice little name for himself and niche for himself with the Tango Crush, and you can't really go wrong with that. So do you prefer a tangerine gecko that has no pattern and is kind of more like Charmander and albino, or do you prefer a gecko that's like has vast pattern and color mutations to it? And
Um, I kind of like a bit of both, actually. There's some days where I'm like, I really like the no pattern, or there's days where I'm like, I love the pattern with it. Um, that's kind of what I want to do with the Firebolt, is adding that Tango Crush in there. I think the orange would just make the Firebolt look so beautiful.
yeah, definitely. I think your dad said that he would choose the Afghan because he did 3 tours in the Afghan region. Yeah, that's really cool. Well,
Yeah. So my dad has a Afghanicus.
that's awesome. That's awesome. And thank you for your service as well, Brandon's dad. What's your dad's name?
Al.
Al?
A-L. Yeah.
Good solid old school name right there. Like Frank is like just a solid old school name. You don't really see a lot of it of just like plain Frank anymore. So I always like taking note of like solid old school names. So let's see here. I'll look through some of these questions, but my favorite morph also I would have to say is like the tangerine. There's just something about it. And if I had to pick a look, I think like the Charmander look is still my favorite, even though you have a little bit more opportunity to um, expand your projects if you're working like jungle projects, because every jungle is going to be a little bit different versus like every Charmander is pretty much going to be the same. They're all going to be like super hypo, baldy, like no pattern. I like that look. But so, okay, I'll say this real quick. This isn't my show, and then we'll move on. But for the Charmander look, I don't know if you look at it this way, Brandon, but when breeding, you want to try to look at progression. How much can you progress this line? So the Charmander look is like a patternless animal that is solid orange, but it's very difficult to get an all orange gecko from the tip of the nose to the tip of the tail. So one progression that you could always work in that project is getting geckos that have more and more orange going into the carrot tail. And then another progression on the jungle side is you could get geckos that have more and more wonky pattern, wonky spotting, weird like manipulation of tones and stuff like that. So both projects are unique, and I think there's an infinite amount of times that we can work those projects to create progression, progress in those projects, and then consistent progress. So that's another reason why I think leopard geckos, we can just promote them so much and breeding them is because there's always a better tangerine. You know what I mean? There's always more carrot tail. There's always more red pigment. There's always more jungle pattern. There's always more spotting. There's always more something that you could do, and that's good for the hobby because it keeps it, kind of progressing. So it keeps it flowing. So, kind of talking along those lines, what are your overall goals being in the hobby? Like, do you want to be a hobbyist? Do you want to be a hobbyist part-time breeder? Do you want to be a full-time breeder? Like, what at your current stage where you're at right now, what is kind of your future vision of where you would like to see your collection go?
I would love to do at least a part-time hobbyist. Enough to where I'm still kind of making some value to where I don't have to like go and work all the time. I can come home, work with my geckos, and to work part-time. So
yeah, and that's a good method because working full-time, you have the burden of supporting your salary with gecko sales, and gecko sales can be hit or miss, good or bad, depending on what time of year it is, depending on how long you've been in the hobby. So to not have the burden of replacing your salary with gecko sales or even replacing your expenses. I was just giving this example on my live on Monday. Our monthly expenses right now, depending on the time of year, are ranging anywhere between $1,500 to $2,000. So that means every single month I need to produce at least $2,000 just to break even. And that's not even paying myself. I'm not even paying myself a salary at all. $0 I'm paying myself. The $2,000 expenses is just the expenses of the business. Now, we do have snakes, and a huge part of that expense is the rat expenses because we have a breeding operation for that.
Yep.
Or if you were buying rats is even more expensive. But I would say the majority, I would say it's 1/3 food bill for the leopard geckos, 1/3 rent expenses. We rent from ourselves here, and I need to pay rent to help pay the mortgage, blah, blah, blah. So 1/3 rent, 1/3 leopard gecko food, 1/3 rat expenses, and then obviously there's all kinds of other stuff in there. But it's just, man, it's stressful sometimes to have to, have that conversation with your wife about bills being due and, well, I guess I got to sell a gecko I didn't want to sell now, or whatever the case is, hustle up some stuff. You know what I mean? It's never fun trying to collect money at the last minute. And if you have a full-time job or a part-time job that is covering the vast majority of that, you kind of relieve yourself as a breeder to just focus on what is fun, and you don't need to have a ton of animals, and you could just have quality animals, and you don't need like quantity necessarily. You don't have to travel and book all these shows because that's where a vast majority of money is made for a lot of reptile people is booking shows. So anyway, I think that's a great the method that you're going about it, like having a job to support your bills and then just allowing the hobby to make some extra money on the side. I think that's a great way to go about it, and it's a lot more stress-free. So
and I
he's
think that's
a
what
lot
helps.
younger than he thought, but
I think that's what helps with where I'm working right now. Having my 3-day weekends, it gives me all that time to work with all my geckos and my snakes and all that other stuff, cleaning and feeding and all that other fun stuff.
So do you work 410s then, or like what do you do for work?
Yeah, so I work 410s. I work at Williams International, so I do special. Yeah, sorry. I do special processing for military and commercial aircraft parts.
Oh dang, yeah, you got a solid job there, huh? Is that a government job?
Yes, so we're contracted through the government.
Nice. Sometimes I kind of reflect back to myself. I'm like, do I want a job where do I want to go back to the days where I'm working for somebody else because you're well taken care of? You have good benefits. You can move up the ladder. You can pursue other job careers if you want. with the reptiles, it's just a lot of stress. Like your only source of income is the reptiles, and you have to make this happen. You have to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
But you obviously have to get your own insurance, which a lot of people don't realize like how expensive it can be to buy your own insurance instead of getting provided for you at a company. You have no 401k. Government jobs like you have, they really take care of you as far as I know, like retirement wise, 401k wise, benefits, like all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So those are all the benefits of working for like these big corporations and then just doing the geckos on the side. But our RDN says that leopard geckos are the new service animal. You know, I've wanted to, I don't know if this will ever be possible, but you know how they have like dogs and cats that you could bring into the hospital for like kids who have cancer or like elderly patients that are, you know, like in hospice to make them happier. I want to see if I could do that, but with reptiles. So I'll be looking into that and obviously let you know if that's possible. But I really do think reptiles could be a service animal in a way, you know? They are relaxing and therapeutic to a lot of people.
Yeah. I like my bearded dragon. When I'm like watching TV or something, I'll pull him out and let him chill on my shoulder, and he'll just sit there and watch TV with me. So I think reptiles can be, you know, emotional support animals, or even just to bring joy.
And if you ever get a big boa, this is the way that I always encourage. This is always my sales pitch. It all comes from a natural love of the animals, but at the end of the day, I reflect back on the things that I say to people, and it is a really good sales pitch. The way that you talk to somebody and the way you describe the animal is either going to make them feel more comfortable or less comfortable to work with the animal. So anyway, we have this big 7-foot Dumerals boa that's really intimidating to a lot of people that don't know reptiles. It's intimidating to see this animal that's 7 feet long and then trying to get them to hold it. But one of the things that I always say to people, you know, as I'm getting them comfortable for holding the animal is, I'm like, yeah, if you put it around your neck, it's almost like a massage. Because I don't know if you've ever held a big boa, but they scrunch their muscles. And their muscles are scrunching on the back of your neck and compressing at the same time. And it feels really, really good. And so a lot of people, when I give them the boa and they put it around their neck and it like wraps their tail around the arm, they're like, oh, this feels really nice. It's like compression therapy. You know what I mean? Like it just feels, you know, like you're being hugged or whatever the case is. It feels really good. So
we actually have a breeder here in Utah that breeds retics. I think it's wildfire retics.
Okay.
But he's got some awesome retics.
Dang, nice. Yeah, retics, that's a whole nother game right there. But size-wise, retics are kind of thought to be like one of the most smart snakes, meaning that when you walk into the room, a retic is studying you in a different way than like a ball python does. Now, boas are kind of the same. So like ball pythons are very stationary or very flighty. Either a ball python's going to sit in your hand and not move at all, or it's going to try to like zoom away from you, you know, in a very anxious way. But boas and retics are a little bit different. They're actually flicking their tongue. For anyone who doesn't know, when a snake is flicking its tongue in long, slow, like natural movements, it's absorbing what's going on around it, and it's actually thinking. It's trying to make sense of who you are, whether you're a threat, what's going on, whether there's food present. It's making sense of all of that. And retics especially are known for that as well. I've heard so many retic breeders talk about how astute a reticulated python is. The way it looks at you, it's studying you. It's just has the appearance that it's using more brain power than like a ball python might be doing when it's actually interacting with you. And I've seen the same with our Dumerals boa as well. It's really, really cool. So reptiles can definitely, sometimes we don't give them enough credit. You know, we think their brains are like super underdeveloped and not capable of emotion or like you said, personality. But the more you deal with reptiles, the more you see that different reptiles do have different personalities, and some of them do get more accustomed to humans, and it's really interesting.
And you see that with monitors. They're so smart.
Yeah,
The way they just process everything.
they're just so big. Well, most of them. I actually started researching like pygmy monitors that I want to possibly collect one day. Like the Kimberly rock monitor is pretty small. Aki monitors are pretty small. Obviously, the tree monitors are small, but a little bit more flighty than like an
Yeah.
Aki might be, or like a Kimberly might be. But yeah, that might be something that I get into more one day as well. That's kind of my dream, is to possibly have a facility that has like a monitor wing, a crested gecko wing, a leopard gecko lab. You know what I mean? And people can come and like tour the facility. Do you have any future dreams of like possibly working at or like having your own type reptile zoo one day or something? You know?
So we kind of have our little zoo going on downstairs. I live with my parents, but at that age,
All
it's
good.
expected.
Yeah.
So I got my leopard geckos, I got my bearded dragon, corn snake, all that other stuff, all my other awesome animals. But I would love to get into Brazilian rainbow boas.
They
That's
look
like
really cool.
my biggest dream snake to own.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I just don't have the room for it.
Did you see recently? There's an albino version now. Like I don't know if there always was an albino version, but just recently I started seeing more albino rainbows, and it's really interesting. Um, so Henry Bam Bam mentioned a couple of the reptiles that he keeps earlier in the stream, but if you want to just kind of review it real quick, what are all the species that you keep now?
So we have, for pet wise, we have my bearded dragon, a couple leopard geckos, and then my corn snake. And then I did have a chameleon, but like I said, my mom has the chameleon now.
Okay.
She fell in love with that chameleon. Um, and then breeding wise, leopard geckos, crested geckos, gargoyles, and ball pythons.
Nice. What ball python projects are you into?
Um, I don't have like a specific one yet. I'm kind of like still um, exploring
Figuring
of
it out.
what I want to get into. Uh, right now, I only have two males and two females, and they're still kind of growing. So,
All right, let me ask you some test questions then. Let's see where your heart truly lies. All right? If you had to choose between pied and albino, which one would you choose?
ooh, um, probably the pied
Okay. If you had to choose between pied and clown, which one would you choose?
clown.
Okay, if you had to choose between clown and desert ghost, which one would you choose?
Ooh, that's a good one.
See, a lot of people think DG clowns are awesome, but I got to be honest. This is just me being honest. Desert Ghost appears to be more of a yellow snake than anything. So when you try to incorporate orange or red or purple hues into it, I don't think Desert Ghost is going to hold color as well as it holds bright yellow pigment. So to me, if you want a bright yellow snake, Desert Ghost is your way to go. But if you want more of like an orange, red, colorful snake, then I don't think you actually want Desert Ghost in there. I don't see a lot of the big breeders mentioning that, probably because they got tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars invested into marketing Desert Ghost. But all the Desert Ghosts that I see, and I have seen JKR, Canova Reptiles. I did see him show a Desert Ghost that has a little bit of orange in it and whatnot, but to me, I just don't think Desert Ghost is ever going to produce as much orange and red pigmentation as a non-Desert Ghost would, just because it makes the animal more yellow. Like it throws more yellow in there and it makes it that more that kind of tone, you know?
Yeah, I kind of have more like darker gene ball pythons. So I got a pewter, I have a lesser, I think, and then I got a pinstripe. So I'm kind of like more towards darker genes.
Yeah.
Um,
The reason I bring up the recessive thing is because as you get deeper into ball pythons, you'll see the only way. Well, okay, I was just watching a podcast right now where they were talking about codoms having a comeback, but the most financially profitable combinations are right now in the hobby are recessives, double recessives, triple recessives, all recessives. Like you need a recessive in there. So that's the reason I was quizzing you on recessives to kind of see where your heart lies. Now, clown or puzzle?
ooh.
You don't have to worry about offending me, brother. You know I'm into puzzle, but if you choose clown, it's all good.
I like clown, but I love the puzzle because it's just more of a unique pattern to me, in my opinion. So I'd probably have to go with the puzzle.
The leg up on puzzle that clown has. So both of them are a pattern manipulator. I think each of them has a respectable pattern. Clown produces circular, almost like suction cup like patterns, which is really really cool. Like Canova the names that they come up with things are crazy. But he had like whatever the Wookiee, spot nose clown, blah blah blah, and he nicknamed it the Kraken. Right? Like, how cool is that? You got a combination of snake that's called the Kraken, and it's got all these orange and brown, like, suction cups all along the snake. Looks phenomenal. The puzzle also looks phenomenal. It's more of a jagged, puzzly piece type pattern versus the clown is more of like a circular suction cup type pattern. So the pattern is arguable which one is better. It just depends what you like at the moment. But here's where the clown really shines over puzzle is clown is not only a pattern manipulator, it's also a color manipulator. A clown is going to be brighter than a puzzle is naturally in their base form. Now that can be good and bad when you start throwing other genes in there. If you throw too many brightening genes into an animal, it kind of washes out all the color. And that's where puzzle can shine. But if you are working like darker genes that need a color boost, that's where clown can shine because clown will automatically produce that color boost when mixed with these other darkening genes. And so I think both projects are very, very valid. Obviously, clown is the number one project in the world right now, and I don't see that going anywhere. But puzzle is another one that's kind of creeping up behind it to see if it can become a competitor. And so is zebra. I don't know if you saw about the zebra gene, but that's also a new recessive that's kind of coming to the surface.
Yeah, I haven't seen the zebra yet, but like the clowns here in the ball python hobby it's also booming over in the leopard gecko hobby again.
Oh yeah, so that's a good point. Getting back to the leopard gecko side of things is a lot of people earlier, like in the early 2000s, pushing into maybe like 2010 or so. I think there was a big trend in leopard geckos to get patternless animals because all the animals were heavily patterned that came in from the wild, and everybody wanted to get the Charmander, right? The all tangerine gecko from the tip of the nose to the tip of the tail, all orange. That was like the goal. Once that was achieved, and like I said, I think it can always get better quality, better orange, more consistent carrot tail. So that project can still go on. But once that project started to come to its peak, so to speak, everyone was like, well, now I want to go back to pattern, and Matt, from Sasselbeck Reptiles, he was working that clown project that was very heavily patterned and kind of multicolored as far as like bringing in blacks and greens and purples and oranges all into the gecko. And people have been working that project for the last 10 years. And I think it's been really popular over the last 10 years, but especially right now, a lot of people want heavily patterned animals, and they want that jungle pattern. So real quick, I'm going to run to the restroom and take a leak real quick. I'll be back here shortly. But let's talk about care routine for you.
What do you feed your geckos? What do you house them in? How often do you clean them? And anything related, like humidity hide, anything related to care, bring us into the mindset of Bam Bam's Geckos and the practices that you have, taken on as your own and what you like the most right now. And I'll be back while you discuss that. And I can hear you too, so I can, comment on it. I'm listening.
Yeah, so I basically kind of run the same thing just as Frank does. I don't, besides the group breeding, I do everything just one-on-one. So I feed all my leopard geckos mealworms with vitamins and calcium. Every now and then I'll give them some like doobie roaches or some smaller hornworms. For humid hide, I use the little plastic containers. I fill it with Eco Earth about halfway, and that helps with humidity for when they're shedding or kind of like their lay box. I use underbelly heat for all my leopard geckos as well. Let's see. I'll use the 12 quart tubs for my adults, but I'm looking to upgrade to probably like some V35s or something. And I have some sea serpent racks for all my hatchlings. And then I'm currently working on getting a grow out rack, or like a holdback rack for some of the hatchlings that I hatch.
Okay, so what do you keep your hatchlings in right now?
I use the 6 quart tubs for from sea serpents.
Oh, gotcha.
So
Okay.
I have the rack and everything.
So if you had to guess, do you know how many leopard geckos you have, or?
Right now I have 24. Yeah, 24.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. I was listening to a crested gecko breeder speak, and they got asked the question. They were like a big breeder, you know what I mean? I'm blurry, so if you see me moving forward, I'm just trying to capture my my camera here. But they were like, yeah, once you get over 1,000, it just kind of all blends in, and you're just like, I don't know, I'm probably over 1,000 or something like that. Like you eventually get to a point where you just don't know. But would you ever like to get to scale that big, or like right now with your desire, what do you think you would like to max out at, and what would be your goal as far as like breeder wise, and how many babies you might want to produce each year, kind of thing?
So I think like for adults, I would like to max out maybe 40 to 50. I think that's a really good number, especially if I want to just focus on certain projects. And then I would love to produce at least 50 to 100 baby geckos.
That's actually, you're really, really smart, and let me tell you why. 40 to 50 adult females could technically produce 400 to 500 babies. But what I'm hearing from you is you want to have a nice collection of females, but maybe not breed every single one of them every year, kind of thing. Just choosing which females might work best for your projects at that given year. And that way you don't get overwhelmed with the amount of babies that you produce and then having to sell those babies or having space for those babies. So I think that's pretty admirable and honorable. And 100 babies a year is very reasonable. You know what I mean? You can take all year, 365 days, to try to sell all 100 of those. Well, not 365, because obviously you need to grow some of them. But once they get to, whatever size you sell them at, you then have the next year, let's say, before the next set of babies comes in. So you have 365 days from the time that they're sellable to try to sell 100 geckos. And if anything ever starts piling up or getting backpiled for you, it's not too difficult to quickly try to wholesale like 20, 30 geckos or something like that. You know what I mean? Versus having 200 to 300 geckos that you're trying to wholesale. And I'll be honest right now, here's a little tip for anybody who's considering mass producing leopard geckos. Wholesalers are back ordered right now, or they're stocked up. They don't need geckos.
they have more geckos than even they could sell. So if your contingency plan was, oh, I'm going to produce 500 geckos and I'm only going to keep 50 of them and I'm going to wholesale 450 of them, you might not find a wholesaler to buy 450 geckos from you. And now you're stuck with 450 geckos and the responsibility of selling them on your own or trying to figure out how to take care of them. So there's a little tip for people right now is I would say leopard geckos, obviously, everybody pretty much knows there's a lot of leopard gecko breeders out there. But wholesaling is not even a guarantee right now. So just kind of be warned and be careful with how many geckos you produce. But at the 100 gecko number that you're talking about, that's very reasonable. And it's not going to break your bank or it's not going to run your time. It's not going to spread you too thin time-wise to take care of that extra 100 geckos versus taking care of 500 to 1,000 extra geckos. That would spread you financially and time-wise very thin. You know what I mean? Yep. So smart, man. You're going about it smart.
Yeah, I think it would work out pretty good. Right now, it's all about just taking small bites and reaching those smaller goals before I hit those big goals.
Yeah, very good. Very mature for a 22-year-old. So what would you say is the hottest morph in leopard geckos right now?
Ooh, I'd have to say the Black Knight. It's kind of going back and forth. I want to say Black Knight and Clown. It's kind of like they're right there. And then I want to say Cypher's kind of slowly creeping up.
Yeah, that's probably the exact answer that I would give too. Is Black Knight and Clown. I think a general, like a high quality tangerine leopard gecko is still always desirable. You know, like a Charmander leopard gecko, people don't pass up on that. They love looking at that. They love buying those. But yeah, Black Knight, Clown, Tangerine, and then Cypher's coming up. So for anybody that's kind of missed my Cypher conversation before in the past, I'm not sure if you were aware of this, Bam Bam, or you probably listened to the last episode, I think, so you heard. But yeah. I think Cypher will produce the reddest animals with the reddest eyes that we could potentially create in the hobby, because for anyone who knows, right now, the way that you produce a red animal with red eyes is Tangerine, Eclipse, Albino. However, Eclipse really reduces the color saturation of the Tangerine so that you can't really get a red-eyed, red-colored gecko. The most you can get is like a faint orange, red-eyed leopard gecko. But with Cypher, there's no indication that Cypher is going to reduce saturation. So I think that's going to be one of the next big pushes for leopard gecko enthusiasts, is trying to get the red gecko with red eyes. And I think that that's going to be going down the Cypher path. Yeah. So see, there's so much to be done with leopard gecko still. Like we just need people who are excited about it. I think people who are a little bit more collaborative. So I appreciate you being here. And you know, every hobby is going to have their pinpoints, their pain points. There's always going to be different arguments in the hobby and different people on different sides of the argument. But the more that we can get along and collaborate, even if we disagree or have different opinions on certain things, I think that's only going to be more beneficial for the hobby, bring more people into the hobby, and create a more sustainable hobby as a whole. And then also that creates more business opportunity, because if the hobby is more affluent and there's more people in it and excited about it, that's going to make an opportunity for more small businesses and leopard geckos to develop, more genetics and lines and projects, and opportunity for new genes to be popping out. Because John from Gecko Boa popped out Cypher like 6-7 years ago randomly from his collection. So that just shows you that there are more genetics to yet be discovered in leopard geckos. If genetics are still randomly popping out in people's collections, then that could still be happening as long as we have people that are breeding and producing animals, there's going to be a chance that new genetics are going to pop out. So.
Yep. I think it's great that what MorphMarket's doing, right? Is it MorphMarket that's doing the shed thing with the ball pythons?
Oh, MorphMarket supports Rare Genetics Inc., I think is the name of the company. They're a supporter of them. But if you want to know what Bam's talking about, you could go to MorphMarket, look at MorphMarket's supporters, and they support this company called Rare Genetics Inc., and then go ahead. You could describe what that is, Bam.
Yeah, so basically what you do is you send in like a piece of shed from your snake, and they do the testing and all that, and it'll show like all the genetics that they have.
Yeah. And right now they have that available for ball pythons, and they're trying to increase the amount of genes and mutations that they have that available for. But I think it's very plausible in the future that leopard geckos will be close to or on their mind to wanting to work with. And that'll be a game changer for us as well, because then we would be able to test leopard geckos. We would be able to know, is supergiant incomplete dominant? Is it polygenetic? Is it recessive, like Ron Tremper is now claiming it is? Like we would be able to figure out those things. Not only that, but we would also be able to test to see if an animal is het for a gene that we want or het for a gene that we don't want, and we can make that decision to either breed that animal or not breed that animal. So that is game changer. That's exciting right there. That's futuristic for sure.
Huge game changer for the hobby.
Huge game changer. So more geckos, please. Excited you're doing this Breeder Feature Friday. New breeder on the block with Bam. Can't wait. Keep tuning in. Thanks. Really appreciate that. Selective small batch breeding is where it's at. Yep, that's definitely where it's at.
Oh, okay. So I do have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
So, have you ever had a leopard gecko lay 3 eggs?
No, I've been waiting to hear from somebody if they've had that experience.
Okay, so if you go to my Instagram, in the very first post, last night I checked for eggs, and it was her very first clutch. She laid 3 eggs, but 2 of them were good, and 1 of them was a slug. So,
and they were all from the same clutch, though. Like you're 100% sure it wasn't from like the week prior or something like that.
No, it was guaranteed first clutch.
So you're saying the girl on your Instagram from the first post?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll show her real quick. This girl. That's her?
It's you got to go up more. It's like I think it's the very top.
This gecko looks familiar right here.
Yep. That one's from you.
How's she doing? You still have her? Is she doing good?
He's doing good.
Or he? Yeah, nice. Did I pass?
Keep going. Yeah, it's like at the very. There it is.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And you actually show the animal like the eggs you pull?
Yeah. So I pulled the egg prior. So there's the 2 healthy eggs, and then there's the slug.
Yeah, I would love to hear from Denise if she's experienced this as well. I feel like maybe at times I thought I did, but I wasn't 100% sure if it was from the week prior or not. You know what I mean? But that's where the benefit of you having a smaller collection, you can kind of keep a tighter eye on things and know if something is 100% or not. But that's pretty awesome. That's good. I'm gonna keep note of that post right there.
And that was I paired her like 2 weeks ago, so that was the first clutch she had.
Wow. That's definitely interesting. Denise, if you're still here, let me know if you've had that happen to you. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure it's happened to me. I feel like it has happened to me, but with as many eggs as I collect, sometimes I think to myself, oh, maybe it was just I missed it from the week prior or whatever the case is, because sometimes I'm not pulling eggs until 3-4 weeks later for a girl, and so there's a chance that she might have already double clutched in that time or whatever the case is. So, but anyway, that's really cool documentation. See, I love observation and documentation like that because then it helps us pinpoint more whether something is possible or not. And I've always made it a note in my head to try to hear from people that might have the experience of having 3 eggs like that, because I think that would be cool to document for the hobby. So I'll take note of that on your page, and I might use that in some educational videos or references when somebody asks,
Yeah.
So, have you ever had Enigma, or do you know about Enigma?
Yeah, I do know about Enigma. I don't have any, but yeah, I'm fully aware of them.
Yeah, I think so. A few years back, when I was first collecting my geckos, like most people, I was on Craigslist, right? And I found this Nova gecko, and I was like, "What is a Nova?" And I looked it up, and it was like super. I don't know. I forget what it was. Like Super Snow, Enigma. What was it? Like Albino Blizzard or something like that. It was something crazy, and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome!" And I was able to get 2 of them. Like one of them was a Nova, and the other one was just like a normal, bright, kind of super hypo, yellowish type gecko, albino gecko. I don't know if that gecko was Enigma to this day, but it struggled with the same. I can't remember. I won't talk about that gecko because I don't remember if it struggled with the same issue or not. It's been a long time. But the Enigma one was a very bad case of Enigma, where the gecko was constantly like walking in its cage and like spinning around in circles. And I could sometimes, it couldn't eat on its own, like because its brain is so like dysfunctional. This gecko was not able to eat on its own. So what I would have to do is like try to hold the food in front of its face, and then it would eat it. And I would get it to do that sometimes. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the animal was just so stressed that it would like regurgitate most of its meals, and eventually it just kind of got skinnier and skinnier and skinnier until eventually it died, kind of thing, So that was my one experience with Enigma personally. Now I know that there's a lot of Enigmas out there that quote unquote are okay, meaning that they don't express the syndrome or the issue that bad or at all. And that they are able to thrive. And there are some breeders that still do work with it. But it was never one of those things that after I had that experience, it was never one of those things that I wanted to like work with anymore in my collection personally. So I never like brought in any more Enigmas after that personally. But there are some people that work with it to try to keep it like cleaner of a genetic and less prone or less showing of those issues. There are a lot of breeders that try to outcross it and work with it in different ways to try to make it so that the gene will thrive. But that's just kind of my thoughts on it. I really don't have much more thoughts than that because I like to speak from like either my experience or the experience that I've seen of other people firsthand, like through videos and stuff like that. And I really don't have much of it. When you want the answers to something, you kind of want a large pool of information to observe. You never want to base your information off of like a couple of animals, and I've only had one Enigma, and I've only seen a few videos of other people who have had Enigmas. And some of those videos were very biased towards not being supportive of Enigma. The way that you're going to learn the best of what something actually is versus isn't is watching videos that are unbiased, talking about both sides of the coin, talking about numerous animals that have been observed and the severity of those observations, like whether it was low severity or high severity. And one of the problems in the leopard gecko hobby is a lot of people don't want to talk about those things. So because of that, a lot of information is kind of lacking out there as far as what is the actual answer. You know what I mean? And so, but I don't work with Enigma right now, and you said you don't have any Enigma right now either,
No,
right?
I don't have any, and I don't think I plan on working on with them.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, pretty much the same with me. I like white and yellow. I know there was like some syndrome issues similar to Enigma with certain white and yellow lines, but all the white and yellows that I have here, I've never had any issues with, and we have hundreds probably of white and yellows here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I got a couple of white and yellows also, and I haven't really noticed anything at all. So.
Yeah, same with me. I didn't even know there was an issue when I saw like some people making comments or videos on it. I was like, wait, what? I need to research this. I didn't know there was a white and yellow issue, but apparently there was back in the day. And some of that stuff might still be floating around. So if you get a white and yellow gecko that is kind of spinning around in circles and doing stuff similar to Enigma, then that could potentially be the faulty line of white and yellow where they do that. So let's see. We got a couple questions here. Blah, 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 blah. Breeding projects for charcoal. Charcoal would be interesting, and Black Pearl to see if they make a comeback. They've kind of been out of the picture for a long time. Black Knight has really just been at the forefront of the melanistic leopard gecko scene. But I think I've seen some nice charcoals, and I've seen some excellent Black Pearls. So maybe those would possibly make a resurgence of popularity here as well. So Denise says it could have been a retained follicle. Yeah, it could have been, because sometimes what happens with leopard geckos, I don't know if you've noticed this, Bam Bam, is you'll have 2 eggs growing in the girl. And before she lays those 2 eggs, she has 2 new ovulations growing. And sometimes that happens to where you'll even see like 4 ovulations in the girl. If her first 2 ovulations never turned into eggs, you'll see like the next 2 ovulations coming in before she fully absorbs those prior 2 ovulations. It's really weird. Sometimes weird things happen like that. But on average, you could pretty much expect 99% of the time a girl is only ever going to lay 2 eggs. So the fact that you got a girl that laid 3 for you, that's amazing. You know, keep an eye on that. Let's see if that's something that becomes habitual for that girl, you know, or if it's just kind of like a fluke. But so Denise has been in the breeding for over 20 years in the hobby. We're going to have her on a live stream, probably one of these Fridays in February. But she says, I've not had that happen, but it makes sense that she could have had an earlier ovulation retained. What are the odds in a clutch of getting super snow? Let's put you to the test here, Bam Bam. Okay, let's test your genetic capabilities here. Okay, I'm gonna throw some stuff at you, and you let me know. Okay, let's say you take a super snow and you breed it to a normal. What are the chances of getting a super snow?
I don't think you'd get a super snow. You'd get snows.
Okay. So what would you get from that pairing?
Oh, okay. You would get normals and snows.
Okay, so super snow crossed into a normal. I'll ask you again. What are the babies you're going to get?
Super snow crossed into a normal?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that just be normals, right?
All of them would be snows. Because remember, the super snow is passing on one copy of the gene 100% of the time. So you would
snow and a snow, so you get the super snow.
Yeah, and that would be my next question. So if you take a snow, I don't know, have you worked your own Punnett squares, or do you use the calculator, like the morph calculator?
I use the morph calculator.
Okay, so this is where learning to work your own Punnett squares, it'll really, really stick out in your head. Because like I could picture the Punnett square in my head, but let me just test you right now. What happens if you breed a snow to a snow? What percentage of the babies will be super snow? What percentage will be snow, and what percentage will be non snow?
I believe
so. Snow to snow.
Snow to snow, you get your super snow, so that would be pretty much like a 25-50%.
You were right at 25, so you get 25% super snows.
and then you would get 50% of something, but what would it be? 50% of normals or 50% of snows?
It would be 50% of normals, right?
It would be 50% snow, but close. You had a 50-50 chance. So the genetic calculator is super beneficial, but when you like just get really, really comfortable practicing Punnett squares, not only is it really fun to complete a Punnett square, it's kind of like a puzzle you're completing, but it also really sticks out in your head of, okay, what are the odds of what, and how is everything going to kind of shake down, But so a snow to a snow, you're going to get 25% super snow, 50% snow, and then 25% non-snow. What was that person asking? What are the odds of getting a super snow? Oh, okay. And then if you take a super snow and you breed it to a snow, you're going to get 50%. This let me picture it in my head right here. You should get you're going to get 50% of them will be super snows, and 100% of them will be the other 50% will just be regular snow. I think if my brain is doing that correctly. And then if you breed super snow to super snow, obviously you're going to get 100% super snows. Now, I don't know if you know this, Bam Bam, but the original line of super snow has deformation issues, meaning that if you breed a super snow to a super snow, most likely what's going to happen is you're going to hatch smaller babies that grow slower, and they might potentially have structural skeleton deformations. They might have a little bit skinnier bodies. They might have faces that appear to be pushed in a little bit around the eye canal. Now, maybe Denise can speak to this a little bit as well, but that happens when you're breeding within the snow line, but mainly if you're going super snow to super snow. So one of my biggest passions with super snow was bringing wild types into it. So Afghanicus into snow, fasciolatus into snow, and then creating super snows from that. You know what I mean? And continuing to like diversify and outcross the max snow by bringing it into these wild types. And so far this year, I might produce my first. I don't know if anyone else has done it, but it'll be my first super snows that are like 50% Afghanicus, but also super snow, and then 50% fasciolatus, but also super snow. You know what I mean? Yeah. Meaning that it just has high concentrations of that wild type genetic in there. So I think that's a pretty cool like side project that I'm going on. You know what I mean? So
I'm gonna take note and definitely go start working on some Punnett squares.
Yeah, Denise says it's a strain on genetics running too thin. Yeah, it's tough thinking about it in your head, and especially when you're put on the spot. You know what I mean? So let's see. We covered the genetics. So you have 20 odd some leopard geckos right now. What are the general projects that you have? So like, do you have a bold stripe project, a white and yellow project, a tangerine project? Like, what projects do you have, and what is your most passionate project?
So right now, I think the most passionate project I'm working on is the Tango Crush with the white and yellow.
Okay, that'll be good.
So I'm kind of shooting for like a mango color. It's almost like what Gecko Daddy's doing with the Mango Crush. I think theirs has, I think it's Tremper that's in it, if I remember. But with me, I'm just doing the white and yellow and Tango Crush. So that's kind of like one of my main projects. Same with the Firebolt and Tango Crush. Kind of shooting for that more orange. And then I do have a Black Knight girl, which I kind of want to get into the Afghanicus Black Knight also.
Yeah, that's a good route to go, I think. As far as I can tell, it's going to be a good route to go. And,
so
you know,
kind of like
another reason why Afghanicus is really good for Black Knight is because most Black Knights are already a little bit smaller by nature, and Afghanicus is a slightly smaller subspecies by nature. And so the two, body-wise, just mesh really well. Because if you take like a really big gecko and try to breed it to a small gecko, that could be difficult, whether it's male or female that you're trying to breed to each other. So having two geckos that are more close in size could work really well. So Reptile Bro said, would it be a good idea to cross Black Knight to a charcoal or a black pearl? Sure. What about you? I think that would be good.
I think it would be good. Isn't it like a different lineage of almost kind of like the Black Knight in a way?
Yeah, the black pearl. I'm not sure. I'm not 100. Again, this is one of those things where not a lot of people make videos or comment on this information, and not a lot of it is out there on the internet, like on websites, to where you can like 100% know everything. And maybe I just missed it, but to my knowledge, black pearl is separate than charcoal. They're both separate lines. Now, did the breeders that created charcoal and the breeders that created black pearl, did they ever at any point incorporate some Black Knight in there? I don't know if we'll ever know. Those are like secrets that only those breeders would take to the grave with them, kind of thing. Because when you're marketing, when you're marketing something different, you want to market it as something different. And if people found out that the charcoal was really just Black Knight infused into some outcross projects, then your market value goes down now because you don't have something as rare. So those are secrets that those people will take to the grave with them, whether they incorporated Black Knight into it or not, based on what their defense is or what their description is. But I totally lost my thought on what I was going to say. This is what I was going to say. There are dark genes. There are dark variations of geckos that just naturally pop out from time to time. I don't know if you've ever seen this in your collection yet, but sometimes you will pair two geckos that aren't dark at all, and they'll hatch out a dark baby. And Denise is actually Denise Ray right here. She actually has a tangerine line that she's working on where she is hatching out dark animals from that line. And I've seen the same thing similar in my operation. Eclipse seems to pop out darker babies sometimes, and then sometimes Tangerine. I've paired Inferno to Inferno, and I've hatched out some dirty, dark Infernos. You know what I mean? And it just happens sometimes. So, in theory, if you take... You hear the plane going over me right now? If you take any dark animal and pair it to a Black Knight, in theory, the offspring should be darker than if you take a non-dark animal and pair it to a Black Knight, just because that's how polygenetics works. Polygenetics means that you have multiple genes in the animal that are making the animal darker. And if you pair that to a Black Knight that already has multiple genes in the animal that's making the animal darker, of course you're stacking those genes, and now you're going to have animals that are darker in general. And real quick, I'll give an example of this. If anybody knows what a midnight blizzard is, do you know what a midnight blizzard is?
I know it has something to do with blizzard. So,
in the blizzard variation, there is something that just spontaneously happens. I don't think anybody has look how dark I am. I gotta turn on my light here in a second. I'm like fading into the darkness. I'm getting lost to the darkness. But in the blizzard world, there is something called a midnight blizzard, which is a random variation of blizzard that hatches out purple. The animals are dark, like darker gray to purple in coloration. That's called midnight blizzard. We took a very purple midnight blizzard girl that we have here, and we bred her to our Black Knight male. Then we took a super snow girl that has no dark features whatsoever and bred her to our Black Knight male. What happened was the midnight blizzard female that has darker features to it already produced darker babies when bred to the Black Knight male than the Super Snow female that does not have darker features when she was bred to the Black Knight male. So, in theory, if you take a charcoal, which is already dark, or you take a black pearl, which is already dark, and you breed it to a Black Knight, which is already dark, in theory, you should get babies that are more dark than a non-dark animal paired to a Black Knight that you would get, if that makes sense. So, Super Giant Black Knight, Denise is working on that. She's probably one of the people that are furthest along in the project that I'm aware of.
I would love to hear about that when she does her live. So
yeah, that's definitely going to be a big topic that we'll be discussing, because she has some really big Black Knight breeders. She has some Black Knight breeders that are like, I think she said like 70 to 90 grams, like in that range, which is really big, because most Black Knight breeders, like males and females, they're somewhere between the 40 to 60 range. You know what I mean? So if you could get Black Knights that are in the 70 to 90 range, we're getting closer now to pairing it to a super giant animal. Because if you just take a super giant animal and pair it to a 40-gram girl, it's going to be really difficult for them to lock because of how small she is. And on top of that, he could potentially hurt her. Because like a 40-gram Black Knight female is a little bit more delicate than like a 60-gram normal female. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to be careful when you start trying to pair those big differentials in size. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So questions. I think someone said they almost got a Black Knight super giant breeder for $3K at a show. I'm not sure if that's what they were talking about, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of breeders out there that aren't super public with their content creation. So like the you ever hear the term like a sleeper car? You know what I mean? A car that does not look fast, but it's actually fast. There's a lot of sleeper breeders, meaning breeders that are just not out there on social media, but when you look at their collection, they're actually like really far ahead of where some of even the biggest content creators or most public faces are. You know what I mean? So, oh, they might have been talking about they paid they saw $3K for like a charcoal black pearl or something like that. Denise Ray, yes, her melanistic tangerine line. We'll talk about that with her as well. You know what else I want to talk about? Let's mention this real quick. Do you follow Barry Gardner of Only Tangs?
I don't think I've heard of him yet.
So you got to check it out. Follow him on Instagram, Barry Gardner of Only Tangs. He has this leopard gecko that he popped out over the last few years, which he's calling the Oddball. I don't know if you've ever seen pictures of the Oddball, but it looks like a pied leopard gecko, like a true pied leopard gecko. It has like half pattern one way, half pattern another way. It's completely like crazy in look and appearance. He's testing it out, and so far it appears that it is replicatable. So more to come on that genetic. That's pretty much as far as we know, unless you're super buddy with Barry and he's revealed something more to you, but that's as much as he's revealed publicly. Now, Miami Art Geckos, I don't know if you know Miami Art Geckos or follow them on Instagram, they have something similar that hatched out as well. So like those two breeders, I would love to get on a live stream and talk about their oddball kind of pied-ish project as well. So all exotics, good to see you here.
My aunt knows Miami Art.
Oh, really?
My aunt breeds Cresties and Gargoyles.
Oh, nice.
So
that's really cool. When I go to Florida, I'd love to try to see Miami Art if I can. Let me see if
he's
this
got
works.
really nice geckos.
Yeah, he does. He's always participating in. Do you know who Morph Menagerie is for crested geckos? They're really, really popular crested gecko breeder.
I don't think I have. I I know Robbie.
Robbie's
Tiki,
Reptiles.
Altitude
Okay,
Exotic.
so Morph Menagerie is a super popular crested gecko breeder. One of the things that they do is they actually do live auctions on their YouTube channel and Instagram. So they'll have, let's just say, like 30 animals on a Friday night or something dedicated to the auction. They'll go live, and you actually get to bid on the animal live and buy it. And I always see Miami Art Geckos. I always see him buying their animals. Sometimes you get a superb deal. You get you might get like a $1,500 animal for $600, you know? And I was thinking, wouldn't that be fun if we did that in the leopard gecko world? You know, because anything like that creates more buzz and community and kind of has a fun aspect to it, I think is only going to help the hobby and promote sales over anything and exposure of the species. You know what I mean? Anytime you do a live stream, you get people tuning in from different places that YouTube recommends that maybe didn't tune in prior. So the more you get out there, the better. But I just thought it was super fun. And I was sitting there like, man, this would be super cool to do with leopard geckos. I think I might do that once I have enough leopard geckos to do it with right now. But it seems like with auctions, you kind of want to bring higher end geckos that people could get at a lower price. You know what I mean? And so for me to produce enough higher end animals to auction that I'm not selling at shows or not selling on MorphMarket, you know, that's like a next level up. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think auctions would be fun? And do you think that we should include all price points of animal in there from $50 to $5,000? And what do you think while we're on the topic of that?
I think that would be really cool. I think it would actually pull in newer people also. I think it would just bring more people involved with the hobby in general. And I think what would be really cool to do with also like the auctions is just like throw in like a mystery gecko, like just not know what it is and everybody bid on it. I think that'd be really funny. Funny and cool.
That would be fun. Geckopia started doing that on his website where you can buy mystery box of geckos. But that would be pretty cool. So like you could we'll like cover up the box and be like, okay, the gecko's in here. It is a $1,000 value, let's say. And then people could bid on it. And whatever it goes for, right? And then at the end of that, whoever wins that bid, we could be like, okay, we could open this up here live for you, or just ship it out to you, and you still won't know what it is until it gets to you. But that would be kind of fun. So that would be cool. Another idea that you and I had talked about before in the past as well is like round tables, you know, or getting multiple breeders onto an episode to talk about the hobby, controversial questions or topics, whatever, you know, anything just to have bring people's audiences together. Because at the end of the day, you might have followers that I don't have, and I might have followers that you don't have. And the more that we promote each other and collaborate together, the more that everyone benefits, so to speak. You know what I mean? So it seems like most people like the idea of auctions. So I bought a few Leos on Facebook. Okay, caught up with the questions there. Denise loves the round tables. Yeah, that would be fun. So, you know, time is on our side. I think the leopard gecko hobby can only go up from here. You know what I mean? I see a lot of positive people, younger people in the hobby. I think there's a lot of negative stuff that you can get tied into, but if you try to just like not focus on that and just focus on the positivity and the people that are being positive along with you, I think that's going to go a lot further than if you give into the negative stuff. There will always be negative stuff in every hobby, you know? So, and that's another thing.
Paintball, you know, the sport.
I would imagine. Yeah, negativity. But, and you know, sometimes negative people will thrive in their own environments because other people enjoy the negativity. But like for me, I just want to collaborate with as many people as possible. I want to push leopard geckos as far as possible, as well as other reptiles, you know, because I'm into other reptiles besides leopard geckos. But like I say in all of my episodes, if I had to choose right now, one reptile to keep for the rest of my life, it would be a leopard gecko. What about you? I'm just curious. Are you going to be a traitor to the species? No kidding. One reptile. If you could only keep one reptile for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Ooh. I'm gonna have to stay with the leopard gecko.
Good answer for this show, whether that's the truth or not. You know what I mean? So
Because that's just really what brought me into the hobby, and I've just connected with leopard geckos so quickly and easily. But back on the round table, I think the round table would be really good. Yeah, I think the round table would be really good because having newer breeders like me coming into that round table, I could be learning things just from you guys.
That's true. That's true. That would be fun. So we'll definitely work on some stuff like that. Like I said, time is on our side. I think cultivating relationships and then figuring out the people to bring into these episodes and stuff like that will be super, super fun and a really good time. So the leopard gecko hobby has much to look forward to. Roundtables, auctions, shows. Another thing, too, is leopard geckos at shows were kind of taken from a high-end display animal to a cheap deli cup animal. You know what I mean? The more we get back to displaying leopard geckos in a high-end fashion, the more we could show people that they're not just a cheap deli cup animal. I mean, I don't think any animal is a cheap deli cup animal, but you as the breeder who's passionate about it, you have to put in the work to show the specialness of this animal. You know what I mean? So, like, I know you just bought a display kit or a display tier for when you do shows. When you go that extra mile to put geckos in an extravagant setup like that, it shows how much you respect the species, and then it kind of communicates the point back how much the species should be respected. And I think that could also increase the value and selling point for leopard geckos as well by more leopard gecko breeders displaying leopard geckos in that high-end sort of way. You know what I mean? By not cutting corners and just having like a cheapy setup at a show in like a super small deli cup or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think that'll ultimately, because right now ball pythons rule the reptile shows for the most part, and you can see the way that almost every single ball python breeder has a display system for their ball pythons, and they display it in a high value way, and so people are willing to pay more money because it's kind of portrayed as this high value animal. The more we can do that with leopard geckos, the better. And I think there's no reason we shouldn't, because there's a lot of leopard geckos there's a lot of leopard gecko projects that haven't been done, a lot of leopard geckos that still go for high tier money. And even if it's a $50 gecko, if you put that in a display case, it's going to look like a $150 gecko or $200 animal. Yep. You know what I mean? So,
and a good example is when I was at the Wasatch Expo, JB Leopard Geckos. He has all his geckos in display cases, and I mean, there were people that were just getting drawn over to his table. So looks is also another thing for shows.
Hey, our Brooke is here. What do you do? What are you here for? You're helping Whitney with some juice or something?
Yeah, we're gonna make grapefruit juice.
Oh, you know Brooke. Do you know Brooke? Have you seen her on her? Yeah, so Brooke's been she's been amazing helping us out around here.
I have the stream up on my phone right now, so I can hear the lagged echo.
Oh, yeah. Bam Bam's been around a while, so he's probably seen you in some of the older cleaning videos and stuff like that.
Probably.
Yeah, I saw her do the live at the Super Show.
Oh, that too. Yeah.
I stole your phone while we were at the Super Show.
Are you into anime at all, Bam Bam?
I love anime.
Oh my god! You know what? I looked at you and I figured you were an anime person, but you can definitely tell she is
I don't know if you can see, but this one.
Yeah, she's animated
this
out.
This one's from one of the newer animes.
You should see her backpack.
Should I go grab it?
No, you don't need to
Other
grab.
Yeah, no, I'll leave it in the kitchen. But I
No,
think
but-
Whitney and I are going to be outside the window doing grapefruits.
Okay, well, thanks for stopping in.
Yeah, I figured I'd ruin the live stream by bombing it.
Yeah,
Bye.
live stream bomb. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Brooke's great. We also have another team member around here now that's newer named Jonathan. He's great. It's been monumental for me at the scale that I'm at right now. It's been monumental to add team members to the equation. But working everything myself from the start and still doing a lot of the breeding and the cleaning and obviously and stuff myself, that being hands-on like that teaches you so much experience that is the number one way to go before you delegate that responsibility. So I worked with, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of times that I handled geckos, observed them, fed them, cleaned them, watered them before I delegated that responsibility off, so that I knew the best way that I wanted to teach others my standard, or the way that I think that I want our animals kept over here. You know what I mean? If you just delegate that from the start, you might still be you might not know the best ways to do things yet because you haven't done it enough times yourself. So just getting nitty gritty and growing yourself from the ground up and doing the majority of stuff yourself is always best. But then if you get to that point to where you need to hire help, it is extremely beneficial to do that if you get to that point. You know what I mean? So let's see.
Yeah.
I think we've been doing pretty good keeping up with questions so far. Okay, cool. Awesome. So a couple wrap-up topics. Shows. You are in Utah, correct? Or sorry, can you hear me? I think you're fading out. Maybe I lost you. If you can hear me, you're frozen right now. You could leave and come back, and that might work. I'll give you a sec here to see what happens. Yep, I think he left, so he'll be back. So, yeah, chameleons are pretty cool. Like, I never favored chameleons too much, but now I'm actually starting to favor them a little bit more. I think it's kind of cool, like how their tongue shoots out and can grab insects and stuff. I just know that I don't have the time or space right now for chameleons, but maybe I will one day, you know. Bearded dragons have funny personalities. Yeah, they do. My wife was showing me this video of a bearded dragon like to a music track, and it was like bobbing its head along to the music track. It was like a rock and roll song or something like that. Super funny. Gotta love the Instagram reels and TikTok stuff.
There we go.
Gotcha. Okay. So you're from Utah, correct?
Yeah, Utah.
What are the biggest shows that you can look forward to in Utah, like reptile shows?
So, like I said, the only two shows we have is Reptilian Nation Expo and the Wasatch Reptile Expo. And between the both, I would say the Nation Expo is probably a lot more bigger, crowd-wise. And then if I had to choose, like, vendor-wise, I'd probably say the Wasatch Expo.
So did you say those are the only two expos in Utah?
Yeah, so they come twice a year.
So 4 times a year you got the shows.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, maybe I will see you at one of those shows. I'm going to look into the Reptilian Nation one. Now, we were talking a little bit prior. Are you planning on going to any of the California shows or Arizona shows?
I'm going to be I should be at the Arizona show in April.
Okay.
For my birthday.
When is your birthday, by the way?
So my birthday is April 28th. So it's going to be the week before, I believe.
Nice. Well, happy early birthday. I hope to see you at the show, and we'll take some pictures. We'll have you behind the booth, take some pictures and stuff like that, and throw it up on social. but yeah, it'll be a fun time. I'd love to maybe spend some time with you outside of the show if there was time. If there was time, depending on both of our schedules and whatnot. What are you going to be doing in Arizona? Like, have you been to Arizona? Do you have family in Arizona, or are you coming just for the show?
So I think I would like to at least explore around the area for at least a day. Take a day or two and check it out. And but the show is the main thing I want to go to.
If you can, on your way down, I don't know if you've been, but the Grand Canyon's an awesome stop.
Yeah, I don't think I've been to the Grand Canyon. I think my parents have been. So
yeah, it's a trip. There's no fence or anything at the top of the Grand Canyon. So like when you're looking over the edge, you're just looking down at like 1,000, 2,000 foot plummet. If you ever get the chance to hike it a little bit, it's pretty interesting hike as well. And again, there's no railing, so like sometimes
You should take a donkey ride down.
I would never take a donkey ride down. that just so when I was at the Grand Canyon, there are the donkeys and they're like swaying, right? They're like swaying as they walk, and I'm like looking down the edge, and the donkeys are like swaying as they're walking up the cracks of the canyon and stuff. I would never do that. But yeah,
the Grand Canyon is definitely on my list. So
yeah, definitely should be on your list. Flagstaff is really cool because it's got a lot of pine trees and stuff out there. And then once you're down here in like the Phoenix, Gilbert area, you could go to like this old not abandoned. It's kind of like it's an old mine that they made into like a tourist location. And sometimes they have like fake cowboy mock-up shootouts over there and stuff like that. It's really fun, and they got restaurants at that location. And there's a little reptile exhibit. I've never been to the reptile exhibit there yet, but they have like Gila monsters, I think, and some venomous stuff at this old mine that is a tourist location now. You know what I mean? So I'll get you the name.
I bet there was cool. Are you talking about the? I think it's like the Goldfield Ghost Town or Copperfield.
Yeah, the gold mine ghost town or something like that. Yeah.
Love that place.
Yeah, I haven't been to their reptile thing yet. I don't know why I haven't been to their reptile thing yet. I've been there a couple of times, but anyway, I love reptiles. When I moved to Arizona, I was like, I want to see a Gila monster. I want to see some tarantulas, some rattlesnakes. So far, I've seen some baby sidewinders, some tarantulas. Have not seen a Gila monster yet, but I have good word from one of my friends out here that does herp that when I'm ready, he knows where to find them. So
that would be cool.
Yeah, I might get to see some of that one day.
Are there Arizona blondes out in your area?
There are, yeah, but I never see them in my town or anything, but they're in my area. Like they're in this vicinity, you know what I mean?
That'd be cool. Yeah, because I have one, but I'd love to see one in the wild. That'd be really cool.
That would be cool then. Okay, so we'll do some fun wrap-up questions on the way out.
Alrighty.
It's been really good talking to you. If anyone wants to get to know Bam Bam a little bit more, he'll throw up some of his tags and stuff at the end of the stream. But before that happens, let's do a couple fun questions. Okay, so we already learned you're into paintball, and we learned you're into anime. Paintball and anime. Okay, what's your favorite anime, first of all?
Demon Slayer.
Demon Slayer. Is that good, Brooke?
I love Demon Slayer. Initial D is another one. And Ippo.
Okay. Diablo doesn't count as anime, does it? Diablo franchise?
I've played the franchise, but I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think it would fall under anime.
Demon Slayer is good. Sorry, it took me a minute to get back to the window.
Oh, Demon Slayer is good.
I saw the first season and I saw the movie, but I haven't watched season 2 yet. I'm actually about to start watching it with Dustin this weekend.
It's really good.
He says it's good. You know what she tried to get me roped into anime with? She tried to get me roped into anime.
No, it didn't.
Like,
no, it didn't.
What is it? Roses are red or something like?
Ruby. That's not anime. It's a cartoon.
Oh, okay. Maybe it was just me. It was on Netflix. Yeah.
You should definitely watch Ippo. It's like it's a boxing anime, but it's like really good. Like I'm sure you would probably binge watch it.
I like Pokemon. Is that anime enough?
Yeah, it's a fall in the anime.
It's anime, huh? I used to watch Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. I was never big into Dragon Ball Z, but obviously the characters and the concept is really cool. But I was never one of those like, there are those like super Dragon Ball Z fans. Like I was never like one of those people. Anyway, we might have a Sailor Moon project. So we have. It's been my goal. Like how some leopard geckos have circles that form on their backs. It was my original goal to see if I could breed together geckos that have circles on their backs and create more geckos that have circles. But then I sold that project because, you can't work every project, and I wasn't as interested in it anymore as when I first thought of the concept. But my biggest plan for circles was to see if I could incorporate it into Black Knight. So guess what happened this year? We hatched a Black Knight with 2 perfect circles on its back and then black shading filled in around it. And I actually had that animal up for sale at the last couple shows. And then now the animal is old enough to the point where I'm like, you know what? It's close to breeding size. I think I'm just going to keep it and make the original circle project. My original goal for it was to incorporate into Black Knight, so it's already in Black Knight now. Now I have reason to work the project, so to speak, because it's already this much further in advance. So if I can get the project to take off and become replicatable, that will be my Sailor Moon project. So
Really cool to see.
Yeah, and that's the fun thing with leopard geckos. You could take things like that and just kind of run with it,
Yeah.
So, a couple fun wrap-up questions here. We know you're into paintball. We know you're into anime. We know your favorite anime is Demon Slayer. That sounds really interesting. What about Bam Bam's favorite color? What is your favorite color?
This is going to surprise you, but it is pink.
Ooh, why pink?
I just think it's a cool color.
So you're the first other guy that I've met to admit this or even experience this. I've never heard any other guy say this. But when I was younger, you know how they have like the box of crayons and there's all the different colors in there, and they have the extended box. You're not as old as me, so maybe they didn't have this anymore when you were a kid, but there was something called the hot colors. There was like hot orange, hot red, hot purple, or whatever, right? And it was like a brighter, more funner version of the normal color. My favorite color was hot pink. I loved hot pink. And I distinctly remember choosing as a younger, like 10-year-old kid, my favorite color was hot pink. So we got that kind of in common.
Yeah, I love pink.
All right. Well, I'm glad you can represent, man. I'm right there with you. If we could get a pink gecko, right? That would be cool.
That'd be amazing.
That would be amazing. So, favorite color. What about favorite type of food? Do you have a favorite like ethnicity of food or genre of food that you really like?
Ooh, I'd say barbecue.
What about least favorite kind of food?
Least favorite?
Yeah.
Probably like Mexican food.
That's funny because my least favorite is like barbecue because I hate sauce. I get everything plain, nothing but sauce. No honey barbecue, no ketchup, no mayonnaise, no mustard, no nothing. The only sauce I like is marinara. I'll dip my chicken nuggets into marinara all day long. But what about your favorite kind of barbecue? Are you like a wings guy or I don't even know what ribs? Is that like steak? I don't know if steak counts as barbecue. Pork chops.
Anything that goes on the grill.
Hey, okay, you're straight. Yeah, you're like from the South or something. Maybe Delaware's a little close to the South. I don't know. You got a little bit of that influence in there. All right, so we got barbecue. Mexican food, not your favorite. A good tortilla, a good burrito, just not feeling it.
So I'm kind of a picky eater. So like,
okay,
beans are just like not my thing.
Yeah, my wife hates beans too.
The texture of it, I don't like it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. What about you might have already given the answer to this, but favorite like movie genre or show genre? Like, what's your favorite genre of to watch? You know?
Um, I'm kind of like really big into like based on true story movies and stuff like that.
Okay, you're like my mom.
So
She watches Lifetime all the
yeah.
time.
Uh, so like anything that involves like World War II, World War One,
Okay.
sports, kind of like all that stuff.
Okay, so more.
I need to hear an answer for this one. When you asked me the genre question, you said anime was its own genre. I want to hear if he agrees or not.
Do you think anime is a genre?
Yeah.
I think it's a genre because it's just out there. Not everybody. It's its own thing, like for sure. It's a category, no doubt. Now, not all animes don't speak English, right? Like some of the animes are in English. Is that correct?
Yeah. So English dub.
English dub. Okay. Yeah, it's tough for me to do an English dub movie. My wife watches them all the time. She watches movies like, so on Netflix, you know how they recommend movies to you that are like from Asia or from Latin America. She'll watch all of those, but I just can't do it. I sometimes I can do the sub captions. You know what I mean? If it's a really interesting film or historical piece. But all right. So movie, food, genre. So do you like science fiction fantasy at all? Because you like anime, so you must like some kind of science fiction fantasy. What about, that's my favorite genre is science fiction, fantasy type genres. But are you a big Jurassic Park fan? Like
I
of the
love
franchise?
Jurassic Park.
That was a question I didn't get to ask you was, were you big into dinosaurs as a kid? Like most reptile people are. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We actually have a kind of like a museum of dinosaurs. It's called Dinosaur Park.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Utah would have a lot of stuff.
Yeah. My parents used to take me there like every weekend, and it was like one of my favorite places to go to.
Yeah. Yvette says it's a medium. I'm not sure what a medium is. Maybe that's like a subcategory of a category, but I'm with you, Yvette. I'm open to all trains of thought here. So that was regarding anime, but Arizona doesn't really have any huge like dinosaur type sites or museums that I could think of right now. But like when I visit my wife's family in Colorado, which is kind of, on the same plane as, Utah, Nevada, they have some pretty big dinosaur sites up there and like old mining sites and stuff. So some cool historical stuff going on.
Hey, I don't know if you answered it yet or not, but somebody was asking about the pin giveaway on the live stream.
Oh, yeah. So I'm going to do the pin giveaway sometime soon. I was considering to see if I was going to do it on this live stream, but I didn't have time to prepare the wheel or anything like that. And I don't want to take time away from your stream either. So the pin giveaway is still happening. Absolutely. 100%. The reason that I didn't give it away yet is because, and I think you entered the giveaway, right, Bam Bam, for the pin?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. The reason I didn't give it away yet is because I was in discussion with the guy who makes the pins, and he was thinking of actually doing a live stream with us on one of these Fridays and giving away a few pins. So if that was the case, I would have that would be awesome. I would have structured it a little bit differently. But I haven't heard back from him within the last week. Maybe he's just been busy. So if I don't hear back from him this weekend, then I will plan to do the giveaway for the pin myself. But if I do hear back from him, then we'll just wait to do the giveaway until I get him on one of these Fridays, and then we'll do a few spin the wheels, and a few people will win the pins, So anyway, love you guys. Appreciate you guys being here. It's been really fun getting to know you, Branden. Thank you so much. If people want to give you a follow, what content platforms are you on, and what type of content are you looking to produce here over the next couple of years?
Yes, so I have Facebook. I need to get a little more active on that one. And then I have Instagram, and then I have my YouTube channel. So, and all those are Bam Bam's Geckos.
Okay.
For
So we got
my goal,
Instagram, Facebook, YouTube.
yeah. So for my goals, I just want to create more content involving leopard geckos and do a couple more collabs with some other breeders and stuff.
Just have fun with it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Henry. Thank you, everybody, for the comments. So thank you, obviously, Branden, for being here. This was great. You got to kick it off our Breeder Feature Friday, New Breeder on the Block series, episode 1 for the New Breeder on the Block series. You'll forever be down in our video history as our episode 1 for that. So that's awesome, dude.
Thank you for having me on here, man. It truly means a lot to me. So
yeah, of course, dude. I mean, I love the leopard gecko hobby, so I'll be trying to bring on more newer breeders, more experienced breeders. Like I said, we'll probably be doing we'll be doing more giveaways. I'm bringing on some people on Friday nights that might have some stuff to give away. Some companies, I'm starting to meet people at shows, and they do lanyards, they do pins, they do toys, like whatever the case is. As I meet these people, I'll try to get them on our show so we could do some giveaway for some, leopard gecko and reptile paraphernalia, toys and collectibles and all that kind of stuff. I think that'd be pretty cool. But please give Bam Bam a follow on Instagram, on YouTube. It's definitely fun to see different content that people put out there, and I look forward to seeing the videos that you make, man. So any last words that you want to say to your fans, followers, people watching before we say goodnight?
Yeah, I just want to give a big shout out to my parents for supporting and everything that I do. So thank you guys. I wouldn't be able to do it without you. And then thanks for everyone that came and support us tonight. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to his channel.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that. And right back at you. And yeah, the parents, man, having those super supportive parents, especially when you're using their house to like hold reptiles and stuff, definitely very beneficial. You know what I mean? So say hi to Haley for us, your girlfriend, right? Yeah, and maybe we'll get to see her on a live one day and kind of talk to her and see how her passion grew based on knowing you, or if her passion was always there, or whatever the case was. But definitely look forward to getting to know her more and hopefully see you in April. So good night, everybody. Love you guys. We will see you guys in the next video. And until then, have a geeky gecko great night. Peace. Later, guys.
Selling in the billions each year, Rainbow Mealworms is your one-stop shop for all your insect needs. Their quality feeders and A-plus customer service keep me coming back to support the health and growth of all of our animals. Visit them today at rainbowmealworms.net to place your order.